One of the most divisive mayors in America, Tiffany Henyard, has been charged with embezzlement of public monies for a number of years. Significant evidence to support these assertions. As we get into the specifics, be prepared for some shocking revelations.
Dalton deserved nothing less than a government that is fully accountable, responsive, transparent, and effective stewards of your precious tax dollars.
Upon being recruited by the Village Board to look into Tiffany Henyard's financial management, former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot found concerning problems. In addition to being in debt, Lightfoot disclosed that Dalton's credit card usage is out of control. As stated in her report, Dalton's general fund balance was $561 million in April 2022, but by May 2024, it had fallen to a $3.65 million deficit. Lightfoot also revealed that Henyard bought personal items with the Village's credit card from stores like Amazon, Target, Walgreens, and Wayfair, with some of the money allegedly going towards remodeling her opulent home. Repayment of her mother's driveway using $561,000 in public funds. In a recent update, the self-described super mayor disappeared after the FBI showed up at her door with a list of corruption charges. The FBI also requested personnel and disciplinary files for 29 Dalton employees, as well as any contracts or payments made to Henyard's top assistant, Keith Freeman, who also has a similar position in Thornton Township. Following the death of longtime supervisor Frank Zuccarelli, Tiffany Henyard, who was elected as Dune's youngest and first female mayor in 2021, was appointed Thornton Township supervisor in 2022. Initially welcomed with high hopes, Henyard is currently dealing with a shocking fall from grace.
What villages do you think are opposed to this?
The majority of them.
All of them. All of them.
All the ones that signed.
But her dishonest and careless behavior might have set the stage for her own demise. For too long, Tiffany Henyard's name has been in the news for all the wrong reasons. She has been abusing taxpayer funds for her own benefit, whether it's by using private jets, hiring a personal security detail, or even paying for her hairstylist's expenses. One such instance is a 5-day trip to Austin in July 2023, where she was joined by her top assistant, Keith Freeman, and 3 township officials. Texas taxpayers have been charged more than $220,000, including $669 at the upscale Fair Mid-Austin Hotel, $309 at Ruth Chris Seuss, $53 for athletic riding here, and $413 at a nearby Walgreens. Officials have not disclosed their reason for traveling, other than attending conferences. Jason House has disclosed that Henyard has been taking lavish vacations with Village employees, despite the Village's mounting debt of millions of dollars.
Homeless behind her raising our taxes. And you said that you have good business skills, then you should take a look at the budget again.
You are a public servant. You serve us.
Sensing that something needs to change, Jason has shared the details of his candidate in the upcoming 2025 election for the position of mayor of Dalton.
I'm here to proudly announce my candidacy for mayor of Dalton in February of 2025.
Under the current mayor's leadership, the town's issues have only gotten worse. Many firms, including Lawrence Gardner Trucking Company, which has been inactive since January 2023, have closed as a result of unresolved licensing difficulties. A judge decided in favor of Gardner, who denied the Village's accusation that he sold alcohol without a license at a party at his establishment. Henyard and other company owners were asked to donate $3,500 to the Village shortly after he assumed office, according to Gardner, who believes the accusation was spurred by other causes. The FBI has not acknowledged any inquiry. Gardner reports that he has been in communication with the mayor for months and that the local community is speaking out against her leadership as business owners reject Henyard's ideas. Dalton's trustworthy Cab Beller brought attention to serious financial mismanagement and urged greater openness so that locals could comprehend the expenditures. The mayor lost 6 police cars, which B.T. Olson, the legislative counsel for the Dalton Board of Trustees, criticized as a deadly sin. He said that losing police cars results in the loss of cops, but Henyard decided to keep supporting her personal security detail instead.
Because it is not the truth. It's only one-sided, and it's a shame that the media comes out and they only show negative.
At a rally called the Take Our Township Back rally, several dozen Thoron Township residents demanded that Henyard resign and that her spending in the township be thoroughly investigated. They also expressed their dissatisfaction with the lack of accountability and transparency regarding the use of their taxes, and they demanded that Henyard further tighten control over the finances by removing all other city members' authority to approve spending, leaving only herself with that authority. Tiffany has undoubtedly perfected the skill of insuring individuals because of her observant demeanor. She has refuted the majority of the accusations against her, claiming to have receipts that demonstrate her innocence, but the ones she has acknowledged are only recognized because there was no way to cover them up. In March 2024, she was accused of using $67,000 in taxpayer funds for a lengthy trip. In response, the Dalton board called for an investigation, demanding the village's financial records and even involving the FBI to get to the truth rather than apologizing for the situation. It appears that accountability is a foreign concept to Henyard, especially as the accusations against her change and her careless and unconcerned attitude remains constant. Tiffany released a veto, calling it a personal attack against her, and insisted that the incident at the village board meeting was nothing more than a one-sided narrative. Tiffany said that the Boys Club, referring to the Dalton board, was attempting to prevent her from moving forward and obstructing her advancement. "We are being attacked in our village and community, as you can see from Tiffany's statements. It's unfortunate that individuals can attend the meeting and only present one side of the issue without hearing the full narrative." While the mayor may blame others for the current issues, former trustee Edward Steve said that Tiffany Hen should take responsibility for them herself. Henyard is also accused of using her position of authority to silence critics, allegedly targeting those who speak out against her. One victim of this was former village trustee Valeria Stubbs, who publicly criticized and consequently lost 2 of her tenants. Tiffany Hen also acknowledged the $2 million deficit at Village Hall, but other board members later disclosed that the actual deficit was millions higher than what she had claimed during the board discussion. The incident escalated when Henyard's former assistant spoke out against her self-serving attitude. She revealed that she had been harassed by a trustee on Henyard's board, and when she reported it to the mayor, Tiffany allegedly responded by saying that if the situation became public, it would ruin her. Despite filing a complaint, Tiffany's promises to help were hollow, and the assistant was placed on an uninformed, unpaid medical leave before being fired. The vehicles were shot by a hitman who was apparently hired by the mayor.
They said no, or they had something else to do, but Andrew. Miles did say that if he's done doing whatever he was doing, he'll catch up with us. Okay, so fine, but I at least knew I got a man with me, I'm gonna make it home. I ain't gotta worry about trying to go on the strip by myself.
A similar situation involved Wayne Thrash, Tiffany's former maintenance manager, who filed a lawsuit against the mayor after being fired while on vacation. According to the lawsuit, he was fired for not cooperating with a plan by Henyard and her assistant to fire an attorney and replace them with a firm that the mayor's assistant preferred. Henyard's impatient attitude has even resulted in chaotic board meetings. On one occasion, residents crowded into the Park District room for a meeting and were incensed and loudly protested against the mayor. Tiffany Henyard addressed the public in the absence of the 5 current trustees despite the cancellation of a special meeting of the Thoron Township trustees the same evening. Her effort at a special meeting was more of a one-sided speech than a genuine discussion. "I'm going to talk about certain things," she mentioned, "and there won't be any remarks or anything else. I'm just telling you guys what's happening, and if you want to leave, you can. If you don't want to hear it, you can go."
100 residents showed up at the meeting tonight, but only 42 residents were allowed inside. They had to walk through metal detectors, and they were
In one particularly noteworthy case, Tiffany Henyard's casual demeanor has taken a strange turn as she now uses board meetings as a forum for self-expression through dubious fashion choices. She arrived at a meeting dressed as Nino Brown, a character from the film Asterisk, An asterisk for New Jack City, her lack of seriousness has caused the people to doubt her dedication to the mayoral trust. In response, Kay Beller said that with everything going on right now, people view politics as a joke. She dresses as Nino Brown when she attends board meetings, but she goes beyond that. Trusted during a recent hearing, Carmen emailed Dilly GM a statement in which she publicly denounced Henyard, accusing her of acting unethically and predatorily during her tenure as Dalton mayor and supervisor of Thoron Township. Carmen said that Henyard had misused her position of authority by controlling residents, staff, and vendors in order to increase her influence during the previous 2 years. Carmen further said that Henyard was presenting a phony picture of prosperity that was financed at the expense of. Carmen acknowledged at a recent board meeting that she hardly ever voiced concerns about Henyard's extravagant travels and other expenses that were billed to township taxpayers, both in Thornton Township and the village of Dalton. Carmen and other trustees then decided to put new limits on credit card access and spending on special events. But this was not the beginning of TIF's problems. They started in August 2019 when CBS 2 Chicago revealed that a property owned by Henyard that she was collecting. There were serious problems with Section 8 housing subsidies, including mold and water leaks. J.C. When Smith, a tenant, confronted her about the mold problem, the media noticed it and began looking into the dubious inspection of her property. By November 2019, the house was declared uninhabitable, forcing the tenant to vacate. But Henyard allegedly continued cashing the section of checks as if nothing was wrong.
Over here in the corner, and that's where it started, and then it just spread it.
Jacqueline Smith says she's battling mold in many places, a result of unrepaired leaks in her Dalton rental home.
It leaks in the corner where the roof of the ceiling is damaged, and then it leaks going into my kitchen, and the window sill leaks in my daughter's room. Frustrating, irritating. I just don't feel that I should be living.
Following the public fallout after publicly criticizing Mayor Riley Rogers and his tenure, Tiffany made the decision to run for mayor in October 2020. She quickly defeated Rogers in a four-way primary to win the Democratic nomination in everyone's eyes. As the first Black woman elected mayor, Tiffany was widely seen as a trailblazer by the people after she unexpectedly defeated opponent Ronnie Burge in the general election in April, receiving 82% of the vote.
But to pause and appreciate the historic significance of this appointment. I take great pride in being an African American woman.
Despite the initial support, Tiffany soon started using her position as the first Black woman mayor to defend herself whenever someone asked her, saying things like, "You should all be ashamed of yourselves because you are all Black, and here you are beating and attacking a Black woman in power," Henyard yelled at trustees during a February meeting. However, over time, people started to see Tiffany for who she truly was, not the person she presented. Over the past year, Tiffany has had significant conflicts with the majority of the village's board of trustees, which has resulted in an anarchic environment. She was initially supported by two of her trustees, King Beller and Jason House, as well as village clerk Allison Key. However, their relationship began to deteriorate, and eventually they joined the rest of the board to pursue legal action against Tiffany. The only time there was harmony among Tiffany's chosen team was for 6 months before her trustees disclosed that she had been misusing municipal funds, which caused the public to question their initial vote. By April 2022, the village ward filed a lawsuit against Tiffany alleging corruption and wasting public funds. Tiffany played the victim in spite of the accusations, saying that the board members were responsible for a smear campaign. She even barred the trustees from their own offices, dispersed their confidential documents in public places, and violated their privacy, which only served to disrupt board meetings. Tiffany denied all of the charges repeatedly, even in the face of growing evidence.
This woman, as she stood on a stack of Bibles and had her tongue notarized, not a damn thing she says comes out her mouth.
One person told Fox 32 that we have elderly people who cannot buy basic necessities, and I am heartbroken that this woman entered our town and squandered all of our tax dollars. In a public comment section of a meeting, another resident added, "I suspected it all along." This administration is shameful. Another person yelled, "We're all waiting for the end of this administration." Tiffany's retreat from the public eye was caused by the constant barrage of accusations against her without any support. Although people initially supported her, their faith in her quickly crumbled as she shattered their hopes within months. But the public still demands accountability despite her absence. And the cops take action. The amount of government funds she allegedly embezzled for her own benefit without considering the community is astounding. And many people feel she should be imprisoned for her acts, which were highly offensive and exploitative. What do you guys think? How would you respond? At first, Tiffany was not supposed to be Thornton Township's supervisor. The trustees had only 60 days to select a replacement after Frank Zuckerau passed away, but the procedure appeared hurried and disorganized. To everyone's amazement, Tiffany Henyard was elected as the 9th candidate for the job. In fact, nobody in the room anticipated that Tiffany would be selected as supervisor because the choice was intended to be determined by the trustees rather than a vote in one of her very first board meetings. Tiffany herself remarked, "I pledge to the residents of Thornton Township, the elected officials, the board of trustees, and the entire staff that we will work hard and have an honest and responsible fiscal year. I also pledge to remember that I am a public servant, and I will always keep the people first." Previously known as the People's Trustee, I am now the mayor and even now the supervisor of the people. Thank you again. Tiffany Henyard couldn't keep her promise for very long, and during the second meeting, she began to show the real side of herself, which she frequently conceals. She dismissed 2 employees, one from the Human Resources Division, and additionally, the dismissals of Frank Zuccarelli's former executive assistant appeared to be caused by a breakdown in communication rather than any particular reason. When the trustees brought up the fact that the previous administration had taken a retreat to the Eaglewood Resort and Spa and accrued extravagant expenses, Tiffany replied, "I'm all for a retreat, but I'm not for using taxpayer dollars for personal things like spas. Some members here use taxpayer money for spas for their employees, and we didn't know anything about that. That's a big no-no, a huge red flag, and it won't be condoned under my watch as your supervisor." If she had adhered to her own position, it may have been respected. Laws, although she denies the misuse of public funds for spas, she herself used them to renovate her mother's and her own opulent home. The public is now demanding that she be held accountable for her duplicity. Although Tiffany may return with strong defenses, it now appears more likely that she will have to deal with the fallout from her actions. For the time being, she is on the run, making life more difficult for herself and others, but her escape may not last long because the world is now fully aware of what her tenure has been about. That's all for today. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and check back for more videos like this one. Until we meet again, thanks for watching Visual Vortex.